capital and labor, it depreciates in value. We simply mean the more knowledge you create, the more, let's say, growth you can generate. And the variable that enter into the knowledge economy, education, the national innovation, and the institutional. And now let me come to the Arab world, and this is from the 2002-11, the knowledge report. Arab countries in general are represented by weak institutions. So the institutional structures of the state in the Arab world is not adequate to produce knowledge, which impede the progress of the Arabs, especially the youth, toward the Renaissance and building a knowledge society. And then another quote from the United Nations, Arab countries requires a new form of development. And this is crucial and critical. You see, we are speaking about knowledge-based economy, but we also can speak about knowledge-based development. Because what is important for us is not only to create science and technology, but also to broaden the base in order to increase the welfare of the society by reducing poverty, by improving the level of education, and by allowing more people to participate in the economy. Then knowledge-based development is capable of directing the growth model towards some of the problem of the Arab countries. Here, one of the key problems, of course, is sustainable development. We simply mean that can we sustain ourselves in the future? The knowledge revolution offers a unique opportunity to evolve in the direction is better suited to the current and the future socio-economic development. And when you look at the current status of knowledge in the Arab world, you see, we can summarize that by saying knowledge in the Arab appears to be on the retreat. And that's rather very strange. And this is basically a United Nations. You see, we simply mean that if you look back at the last 10, 15 years, instead of increasing the ability of the society to increase knowledge, today we are on the retreat. Then, unless they have their knowledge base, the Arab will become consumers of knowledge. And we are, as a matter of fact, consumer of knowledge. We are not the producers of knowledge. A society can only survive and will be able to sustain itself if it will produce, not to consume. Then you need a climate of freedom. And this is one of the critical assessments brought by the Arab Human Development Report of 2003, that there's not much freedom of expression. You see, you cannot basically produce knowledge in a closed kind of societies. Then science and technology is hiked by politics. And one of the key drivers for innovation is science and technology. Now, the educational system needs to be restructured, and this is very important. Private sector education should be encouraged. The Arabs need to open up their culture. You see, we don't have a dynamic and progressive culture that will allow us to produce knowledge. Arabs need to develop their own knowledge model. We simply mean not to rely solely on the models that exist in the rest of the world and invest in science and technology. Now, this is with regard to the MENA region, and I'm going to skip that. And then these are some of the impediments why we are not producing enough knowledge. What are the problems that we are facing in this part of the world where we are not being able, let's say, to catch up with the rest of them? Access to financing, we have lots of money. But when we speak about SMEs, and when somebody applies for a loan, they may have a great difficulty. Of course, there are all kinds of restrictions when it comes to labor, inefficient government bureaucracy. Then you have inadequate educated workforce. We need lots of training and education. There's lots of corruption in these systems. Poor work ethics in the national labor force. This is very interesting when you read, for example, books written about economic development in general in the Muslim world. And they tell you The moment you hire one of them, he never prayed before. The moment you hire them, they start praying. It is the time management. You see, political instability, of course, and then government instability. These are some of the aspects of the national knowledge policy, if you want basically to, let's say, promote knowledge and increase your capability to improve. Technology is important, organization, you have education, economic issues, political, these are all an important element that enter into knowledge production. And any economic policy, any government need to look seriously, because one of the important features of building capacity for knowledge is to reform the economic system. And then the selected indicator as far as, let's say, knowledge-based economy in the Arab world, expenditure on education is in science and technology is very little. You see, and we simply mean one of the important elements that involve in innovation is the total expenditures on research and development. And we are probably among the lowest nations in the world as far as expenditures on knowledge and development. We are about only 0.4% or 2% compared to about an average of 3% in the industrialized countries. Average output of scientific paper per population is about 2% of an industrial country. Number of scientists and engineers is about 50% of the world average, and almost 90% of research funding is in the public sector. So we have so many problems and so many impediments that may not help us to speed up the process. Now, for the policies for knowledge creation in the Arab world, you need to have a strategy. We simply mean you want to create knowledge, then you need to formulate a strategy via which you define your ultimate objectives, creating enabling environment for sharing and diffusing knowledge. And I always try to say that, you see, even here in the GCC countries, I doubt if any one of them can basically create a viable knowledge. But if all of them could get together, they will be much better off in terms of exchanging knowledge, sharing knowledge, and ultimately trying to produce knowledge. Then human capital development, promote research, and then the gender equity, which is also being mentioned and discussed widely. Now, the role of universities is crucial and critical. And Arab universities are not contributing to the knowledge-based economy in the sense that inadequate research policies. And unfortunately, don't have time to go a little bit further to explain the importance of research by universities for the sake of promoting knowledge-based economy. Very limited graduate program, weak culture for research. Not many people are doing research. You see, here we are when you get a PhD, then you are on the top of the mountain. You don't do anything. It's only mostly for social status, no more, no less. Low quality of academic stuff, lack of strategic guidance of the knowledge and innovation, weak collaborations with other institutions. And this is another. You see, today we don't speak about cooperation, we speak about collaboration. We simply mean universities cannot produce their own research through their local institution. So you need basically to have access to universities and other financial institutions in the rest of the world. And the role of universities are crucial and critical. Low funding for research. Most of the research in Arab countries is done by government. The private sector and private universities are underrepresented in the educational system. You see, and this is another sad fact about research in this part of the world. Then, why innovate? Again, Professor Tariq has a paper on innovation, and we will probably discuss that. You need for strategic position, for financial reason, commercial reason, and of course the human factor for innovation. And this is why innovation is very important. You can see science and technology is the core, fundamental issue as far as education is innovation is concerned. And I indicated before, without education, without innovation, without science and technology, you will never be able to build a knowledge society. And the model for innovation, again, trade is very important in the sense that if you are engaged in international trade, you will be able to have access to technology, access to skills, and access to knowledge and information. And these are important components of the knowledge. And then, of course, you have finance. And now, just give me 2 minutes. The causes of knowledge creation, this is just an example. Why, for example, OECD countries have been extremely successful in knowledge creation? Because they invest so much in related industries. That is what we call knowledge-intensive industries. They invest a lot in education and learning. They have lots of money being allocated for research and development. They invested in building an ICT infrastructure, and then, of course, productivity growth is very high. Now, when you speak about features of small businesses, small business can be more efficient than big business. They can be more creative than big business. They can be more personal in terms of contact, and they can be more specialized. They can be more flexible. They can be more accountable. Now, example of the knowledge economy, and you can see Finland, why in a very short, and has become a good example for countries that has been able to create or to convert its economy into a knowledge-based economy. And these are some of the items that Finland used in order to promote knowledge economy. And this is in the case of Singapore, and is also one of those countries that has been able to achieve so much. This is the level of expenditure on research and development, and this is the knowledge-based economy index. And this is rather very interesting to show the leapfrog that South Korea has been able to achieve. You see, they're comparing South Korea with Ghana. In 1960, they were exactly the same. But you can see South Korea today, and almost 80% of the growth in South Korea was due basically to knowledge creation and technology. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Rubai, for this informative speech. Well, actually, it's really sad to hear or to know that most of Arab universities are they're still poor in terms of knowledge creation, and hopefully in the future they will do something about it. And now let's move on to the next speaker, Dr. Akbar Jafari.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you very much for this privileged invitation to share with you our findings from the floor. I will not talk academic, and I surely promise you that I will not insult your intelligence, and I will not surely offend the Arab nations. Arab nation is you. Starts with you. If the Arab nation is backward, because you are backward. We have to respect our dignities. We have got problems, and let us find solutions for our problems. Talking is easy. The world does not change in the classrooms. Changes on the floor. First of all, we need economic growth And that economic growth is to offset inflation, to offset currency devaluation. These are some leading items into the subject. To meet expanding demand, to increase purchasing power. I'd like to go more and more into real terms. The positive side of the prosperity is to meet physical and physiological and psychological needs of the population. Negative is to diffuse element of social deprivation that will certainly turn into political instability. Your nations, the Arab nations, need your help. And the help starts from you. The SMEs, the nature of the human nature is entrepreneurship and SMEs. These large conglomerates are not humane. It's man-made tendencies. The primitive groups actually worked as entrepreneurs, worked as SMEs by exchanging their services and goods. The large ones are synonymous with dictatorship. The large ones are synonymous with unfairness. The more SMEs we have, the more we distribute the wealth fairly. And that's what happens. It's called oligopolistic. It's just polypolistic is more humane than oligopolistic. Employment, when you start a company, I have started several companies, something like 16 companies, and I have served 63 companies all over the world, and I found out that intelligent people is not for employment. Intelligent people are for entrepreneurship and creation of SMEs. Yesterday, 2 days ago, I was talking to university graduates, and I urged them not to go for employment because you do harm to the economy. If you go to entrepreneurship and SMEs, you will add value to the economies. Let me give you some real facts. Aluminium Bahrain expansion costed $1.5 billion, created only 200 jobs. A fabrication shop costed $2 million and created 100 jobs. See, this is disproportionate impact on the economy. Social prosperity will lead to equitable distribution of wealth. The more we create SMEs, the more we distribute wealth. And the environment is very healthy in Bahrain, it's very open in Bahrain, but like anybody else, we are affected by our environment, by our society. We need to be more independent, we need to be more able to absorb government supports. So we go to try to diffuse large companies as much as possible. I aired my opinion in the media, on TV, that I do not think that we should expand Alba. Alba is coming for another expansion now, line 6. It may cost something like another 1.5 billion. Now with this 1.5 billion, we can create thousands of SMEs and create hundreds of thousands of jobs, and we diversify our economy, and we empower our economy to diffuse the capital expatriation. The need for economic mechanism to achieve equitable distribution of wealth is in our hand. I have listened to many prominent decision makers in this country who says, you tell me what you want and I will do it for you. The problem is that we have not been able to tell them what we want. And we have not been able to actually create drives to go. If the apple is on the tree, the apple will never come to you. You have to go to the apple. Unfortunately, there are people who still think the apple one day will come to you. And the fish the same. The fish is in the sea. The fish is opportunity, is a wealth, but you have to go. But they actually expect that the fish comes out to your kitchen. This is what my government says to the people. He says that you tell us what you want and we will help you, we will support you, but we cannot decide for you. I don't know whether you want fish or you want apple. So it's really accumulation of retardedness throughout the last century that we have come to this situation. But it is our responsibility to correct it. Identifying, diagnosing the problem will not solve the problem. You have to get up and go up the tree and pick the apple. I think environment in Bahrain is very healthy. Nobody has got any right not to be successful in Bahrain. And whatever we hear, because we want to hide our failures. We want to hide our inability. Government is not good, hospitals are not good, people are not good, everything is not good. The only thing you find out at the end is that he is not good. Let me give you one example. There was economic recession during the Iraqi invasion of Kuwait, and we had problems in Bahrain. One company that I know and I worked with, they make air conditions. They said to the people, look, we either reduce the manpower or we reduce the salaries. And the employees agreed to reduce the salary and keep everybody sharing what is left. And the opportunities come. And then these small companies, as you know, small manufacturing firms, they are very flexible. They can adjust. Now, all of a sudden, American Army came and said they want a special type of air conditions. And within 1 week, they reformed the factory. Alba started with 6 products, and after 4 years, now they have 8 products. They cannot. I mean, you tell them to change the slabs to few millimeters here and there, you are talking about revolution. By the way, I come from Alba. I once was director of Alba. It's very rigid, extremely rigid, and it is chain effect. If you want to change few millimeters on the slab or ingots, then you have to change the whole universe. And they are very resistant, extremely resistant. Even the attitude of management is a reflection of the rigidity of the setup. I was very rigid at that time. You talk about change into kafir. Okay, so the big ones are not able to receive ideas for change. The smaller ones, yes, very flexible, but they are not necessarily more efficient. They are not more efficient. In fact, in terms of cost, the bigger ones are better because of economy of scale. So this company actually reformed the factory and produced the air conditions that the American Navy or American forces wanted. And they made expansion during crisis, and the people said it was good that we did not reduce the manpower. So the salary went back to the normal level and above after that. This company did not ask for the war to change to suit their conditions. And most of the companies, this is what they want from you. Most of the economies, okay, they tell the clients, you change your requirement to suit my production. Life doesn't work like this. So these companies, when we get involved with them, we say, look, you have to be so flexible that you are able to change your wife overnight. Who cannot do it? Huh? Okay. Shukran, Sheikh. 14% of the large can adapt to new demands only, while 87% of the SMEs can adapt in a very short time. Where there is innovation, when there is this knowledge in the industry is so fluid, the economy is bound to grow. You don't have choice. You don't have to have the Einstein mind to figure out this. This will reflect on social prosperity and social satisfaction and political stability. All the nations who are experiencing political instability, they are actually because they do not have efficient economy. And that's the main thing. It starts with the stomach and then it goes to the brain. And it disturbs the whole environment for you. There are other cases that I have, real ones, is that medical accessories. There is a factory that makes medical accessories. 19 years ago, they had 7 items. And now they have 82 items. And whenever we told them there is a new product that is required in the market, within a very short time, they brought the setup and produced. Aluminium rolling mill, 18 years ago they had 2 items and now they have 4 items. You see the level of inflexibility, like aluminium Bahrain. Let me give you also the behavioral tendencies of the entrepreneurs and the SME managers. SME managers are different creatures. They are very interesting creatures. And unlike the directors in big ones, they are really, I was telling one of the ministers that I know who works where when they come to the SIF mall. These directors of the major companies, they actually, when they come to SIF mall, you see them that they have combed their hair very nicely. They have sharp edges jackets, and their shoes are very much shining, and they walk in a straight line. And we all know that life is not a straight line. Ashur used to be very well known. He's a totally handicapped person. If you can نسميه Ashur Qalb al-Asad, if you remember him, he was in the vegetable shop. He did not have legs, and everything you imagine it was in him. He was very unfortunate, underprivileged in physical terms. He had small rollers dragging himself on the streets. He was working in the vegetable market. I remember him when I was a kid. So he was selling vegetables. In fact, it was not his. He was working for somebody. And then after some time, he started selling toys in Bab al-Bahrain Road, the old area. And after some time, he opened a shop, then another shop, and he actually now runs a specially custom-made Mercedes 500 SEL. Now, one of my friends, Jalal Ali, tells me that he also has 2 wives. No, this is true, very true. He is a real case. He is there. He is extremely intelligent, extremely flexible, extremely innovative, and he cares nothing except going forward. And then I've got Maryam, who started to have to sell second-hand abayas. Used to come to you and take your old ones and sell them. And then some of them, they required repairs, so she opened a small tailoring shop. Now, to cut the story short, she has branches in Hong Kong, she has branches in Qatar, in Dubai, in the Eastern Province, and in Bahrain. Amina, the same. She had 2 children. Husband was absent. She stood at Marina Mall selling perfumes. And the police came and arrested her and said, "This is illegal, you should not do." He said, "Look, I've got 2 children, I have to feed them. You either let me do this, what you mean, what you think is illegal, or I will do illegal things." And then they said, "Okay, let her do it." Now she owns floors and floors of shops all over the Gulf. What we want, really, I'm sorry that I say this, and I am partially academic, is really not knowledge, is the ability to use whatever knowledge you have. Knowledge is Bahrain does not need higher education. We are overpopulated with higher education graduates. We need professionals in middle technicians, engineers, applied graduates. Switzerland's economy is one of the best economies, and they have the lowest rate of higher education graduates. الحين ناس يقولون إيه لأن أنت عندك دكتوراه ما تبي أحد يقول. Okay, what you perceive you can be. Ashur perceived himself to be in 500 SMEs and he worked for it. Because your mind puts you in auto mode and leads you to where you want to go. By reading, by philosophizing is not going to work. The only factor that I have seen, and I was a laborer, I was cleaning sewage systems and I shoveled around. There is one thing that makes you successful. It's not your knowledge. It's your hard work, it's your effort. With little knowledge, Ashur had no knowledge. And he is more successful than all of us collectively. And what we think, what crosses your mind, you can be. Once it comes, respect it. And go for it. Go and do it. And this is what Amina did. Amina thought, she said to me, I needed 5 dinar. 5 dinar. And she went out and sold these small bottles of perfumes. Import substitution, and look at these, what SMEs can give us. 132 million worth of investment created 50 firms, which created 173 products. Alba creates 8 products. Alba is now worth more than 4 billion. For 8 products. Now this is 132 million, creates 173 products. On the other hand, 357 million, this is another investment, created 1 firm and created 7 products. I'm not surprised that 99.9% are SMEs, but what are their shares? In Bahrain, as Dr. Haytham said, they are 28%. In fact, what I know is that 85% of Bahrain's economy is dependent on foreign export. The rest is really, we consider them as necessary services. Don't complain because you are not important for the economy. Now, I know that retail is complaining, I know that contracting is complaining, but in real terms, you are not contributive to the economy. That's why maybe we are not paying attention to you. Low risk aversion, that is the large ones do not enjoy low risk aversion. They are highly exposed to risks. I'm not going to say because this is a security issue. I know in some areas if something very minute happens, it is going to paralyze the industry. But the small ones, no. Small ones are like rubber object. You hit them, they reform. What we need is really more collaboration. At the moment, we are working now with the Ministry of Industry to create collaboration. All aluminium industries should buy together, should sell together, and create conglomerates. I have asked Khalid Janahi because last time people wanted to ask questions and